Welcome to Creative Tien channel. Today I have two LK100 knitting machine in front of me. I just found one from a thrift store recently and it's very good price, so I have to have it. And I'm thinking to combine both of them together into a large knitting machine. This is my old LK100 knitting machine. I already turned it into a smaller piece. I have an old video about how to turn it into a small knitting machine. I will try to link it somewhere. And this is the extra piece that I take out. If you look closely, there's one section and one big section in the center and one smaller section on the right. It's easier to look at it from the back side. You can see here is a connection. It's connected by a metal piece and you have screws. You just have to unscrew it and take it apart. So you can custom design the size of your knitting machine so you can travel easily, or if you want to make a blanket, you can combine two together. And for those of you who are not familiar with LK100, this is a vintage knitting machine. I'm not sure if you can get it new anymore. I think there are some Japanese version with a very bright colors you can get, but they usually sell it for a very expensive price. For a used LK100, you probably can get it on eBay for about $100 US. And if you're lucky, you can find it in thrift store or garage sale. The LK100 is a very simple knitting machine, but it's okay for beginners. The difference between the LK100, like this one, and the LK150, it's usually the pink color one, that's 150 needles, is a gauge. This one is a bigger gauge, so you can knit worsted weight yarn easily. So to me, I like a bigger size machine. It's much easier if you want to manipulate any stitches. The standard gauge knitting machine are usually very tight together, the 4.5 millimeter in between needles. So those can be sometimes difficult to manipulate. One big difference between the LK150 and the LK100 is the mast, the tension mast. This one is for LK100. It's just a simple piece and you can place it here. You can just insert. So when you are knitting, the yarn will just go through here and go through the front center of the carriage. So it's very simple. Sometimes a simple one can be difficult to control the tension. So you have to kind of hold the yarn and make sure the tension is even. But with the LK150, that's a tension mask for LK150. It's much taller and you can have more control of the tension. So today I will see if I can combine two LK100 knitting machine and make a bigger machine for blanket knitting. Because this is a very old machine, you can see all the needles are loose. Let's look at the back side. If you see closely, the sponge bar or the sponge strip is very old and it's already flattened. That's why needles are loose. I have to replace that. And the easier way is to just take off all the plate, take out all the needles, and insert a new one below the needles. Now I take apart the plate. I'm going to separate these two pieces. I'm also going to unscrew these two plates so I can take out the middle piece. And looks like I can only fit two pieces in the middle because the other two smaller pieces, those are end pieces. so I cannot really fit in. I take out the screw and just take out the metal plate, and then you can separate the pieces. And then we'll try to connect the two center pieces by placing the plate back and screw it back. I got a new sponge strip, so I can just pull out the old one, or if it's difficult to pull, you can take out all the needles first. It's very old, you can see it's all falling apart. I will give it a cleaning and then replace with a new sponge. So I decided to take out all the needles, and it's much easier to install the new sponge strip this way. And the problem with installing the new sponge for the extra long needle bed is that it's usually not long enough. You have to combine with a separate piece. So it's kind of important to see where you want the connection to be. And to put together two pieces, you can see you just have to line up and snap it in. And then you can put back your metal piece. And screw it back. To connect the two sponge strips to make it bigger, I'm just going to place it end to end and put a tape over it. It's not perfect, but at least you don't feel the gap when you are knitting. You can see I have 5 plates total. That makes a very long knitting machine. Now I just need to clean up my needles. I'm just going to use alcohol and give it a wipe and put it back. When you install the needles back, you just have to make sure it goes below the sponge. Push the sponge up with one hand, and the other hand move the needle forward below the sponge. It's easier to open up the latch. And like that, it comes out from the top again. So each section I have 6 needles, and I do it from the center out. So I calculate all the needles. I have 162 needles for this knitting machine. I think it will be great for a blanket or a throw blanket. So I will keep working on that, putting all the needles back. And next week I will try to knit a blanket from it. That's the 2 end pieces left. I couldn't fit in because I already have 2 end pieces. And I want to measure how big this piece is. This is a 60 inches. So that's a video today. It's a fun project. I hope you enjoy it, and see you next time.